Tonight, we are learning more about an EPA order that is forcing Wolverine to clean up its highly polluted tannery site in Rockford. It's based on tests that found mercury, arsenic, lead, and other potentially deadly chemicals there at least 6 years ago. That was before anybody even considered PFAS, the likely carcinogen recently found at extremely high levels at that tannery site. It all begs the question tonight, what took the government so long to take action? Target 8 investigator Ken Colker took that question to the state, which until now oversaw that tannery investigation. Ken.
Yeah, Brian, we met today with the state DEQ supervisor who was in charge of overseeing Wolverine's cleanup. The EPA's new order is giving Wolverine 60 days to come up with a cleanup plan, saying some of the chemicals, including arsenic and ammonia, pose an imminent threat. The threat, the EPA says, is to kids swimming in the Rogue River and people using the White Pine Trail, both next to the old tannery. What's taking so long?
And what's taking so long is, our statute allows the responsible parties to move forward, and diligently pursue the response activities. I'm not going to dictate the pace that's not within the scope of my authority.
It was a Rockford citizens group that asked the EPA to investigate the tannery site in 2011. The DEQ did the work for the EPA, finding evidence it could have qualified as a Superfund site and forced a quicker cleanup. Instead, the DEQ took over the case. As district supervisor for the DEQ in Grand Rapids, David O'Donnell knows as much about the Wolverine case as anybody in the state. Did you feel satisfied that Wolverine was diligently pursuing? Back during those 6 years?
I don't think I've ever been satisfied on any of the sites I work on. You always wish somebody could do stuff faster.
Were they diligently pursuing those activities?
That diligently pursue has never been tested in court, so there isn't a standard for it.
He says Wolverine has conducted tests at the old tannery, which closed in 2009. But they haven't gotten rid of the sources of the arsenic, the chromium, the mercury. They haven't gotten rid of that, correct?
No.
He says the state could have sued Wolverine back in 2012 because the chemical levels violated state limits, forcing quicker action, but chose not to.
Yes, there could have been. The question is, were the levels high enough to warrant the direction of the resources to doing that? And in my judgment, since I was the district supervisor, there were other things that I wanted my resources to be doing.
While the site, he says, posed an imminent threat back then, even before PFAS was discovered, the threat wasn't acute.
If there had been an acute risk, something that was going to harm people immediately, it would have been a different scenario. But it's not. What we're looking at is chronic risks taking place with respect to the arsenic and the ammonia over a longer period of time.
Why is it that the EPA is taking over now?
I think with the advent of having the PFAS, we understand that it's a much bigger problem than what we were seeing in 2011, 2012.
Now, the state has filed a lawsuit against Wolverine over widespread PFAS contamination since the EPA has no legal limit over PFAS and no authority there. As for the EPA, it not only ordered Wolverine to come up with a cleanup plan in 60 days, it also ordered the company to set aside $5 million for that work, and it threatened civil fines of up to $54,000 a day if it violates the order. Now, we also just got a statement from Wolverine saying Wolverine has worked closely with the MDEQ and at times the EPA to test for these chemicals and others and to develop appropriate actions throughout the closing of the tannery. And since, during this time, we have had regular meetings with MDEQ to review work plans, testing results, and proposed next steps.